Today, I want to go over this story very quickly. I was hoping you read it. I'm guessing, I don't know if you did or you did not, but I very quickly want to go over the story. I have a summary online. It's these three PowerPoints that are on the LMS. So I'm going to very quickly just talk about the story. And then in the second lesson today, I do want you to come back so I can go over the questions with you. I will also upload the revision sheet, which is only the questions. I will have a video of me doing all of the answers. Just follow the video. And I think Jenna, you actually already sent me the homework assignment. But just try to look for examples on your own. In the second session, I will show you where to find the examples on how to answer these questions. Try to find your own examples just to get a better understanding. So the story is about he's like 19 or 20 years old. It's a young man named Tim during the 1960s, 1970s which is like the Vietnam War era in the United States. And there is a draft going on. Okay. There's a draft happening, which means that they are taking young students into the military, or young people in general into the military. It's a very chaotic and a very scary time in the United States for a lot of people. There were a lot of young men that were fleeing the country in order to escape this draft. So this story just sort of follows the story of one man, which is kind of it's made up of a few people's different stories through the perspective of one young man. So for this first part, I want to just summarize the actual reading. So these are the reading up. Hold on. Let me get the reading up real quick. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Got it. Okay. So this first part just talks about the first part of the story is meant to give us a background as to how the average man felt during this stressful wartime. Women really did not have as much to worry about for being drafted. Drafted, again, is forced into military service. So we are mainly following the account of a young man who has just finished college and has a poorly paying job at a meat factory. So like here we have like butchers, but usually if you're getting like processed meat, like frozen meat or something like that, then you'll get it from a factory. So he works at a factory that chops up all of these animals. And in this particular factory, it happens to be pork. It happens to be pig that he's working with. So he works at a meat packaging facility where his job is to kill pigs and to clean out the inside of pigs. It's a disgusting job. It's a really, really, really gross, really disgusting job. You might notice and I just wanted you to just take a notice of stuff like these, where is it? Little numbers like, here we go. If you look at the bottom, this is number 1, the USS Maddox, Gulf of Tonkin. So if you look here where it says that, there is a little number 1 right here. Right here, there's a little tiny number 1. So if you want to know what it's talking about, just look down at this. This is really more, you're not going to be quizzed on it. You don't need to worry about that. I'm not testing you on these specific stuff. But if you're interested and you want to just educate yourself, it's giving you more information. And let's see. Okay, so the author's name is Tim O'Brien. This story is not directly based on his life, but some of the details are from his life or of the lives of people that he knew at the same time. So it's 1968. Tim had just graduated. Let me see. Tim had just graduated college. And he was working at a meat preparation factory as his job. His job was a pretty gross job. It paid very little, and he cleaned the inside of dead pigs so they can be used as meat and sent to a butcher. He describes his job as one that left him smelling like blood and dead pigs constantly. No matter how much he would try to shower or clean himself, he always had the smell of dead animal on him. So one day he receives a draft notice, a notice that he will be forced into military service to fight in the Vietnam War, and it just makes it completely crushes him, it destroys him. It makes him very sad, it depresses him. He feels lost and he feels he would be forced to fight in a war he did not believe in and did not understand. He would be forced into a situation where he would have to shoot and kill other people if he wanted to survive himself. So when he learns about this news, he begins to have mental breakdowns of different kinds and thinking all of these different reasons why he should not go and run away. I don't know if you're having an SAT exam. I don't believe you are, I guess. I know that I will not be giving you one. I don't think you will be taking one. If you are taking an SAT exam, it might be like postponed. I will try to find out later today, but my guess is that they are being postponed until another time when you can take a proper SAT exam. So don't worry. I would say don't worry about the SAT. You just have an exam with me. It's pretty easy. I'm going to give you all the answers. It's a very simple one, not like the first of the last quarter three exam, but like more like the second from the last quarter three exam. Anyway, so when he learns of the news of the draft, he like starts to have a breakdown and he starts to be like really sad and have mental issues and tries to think of stuff to like not run away. So if you read lines 50 through 70, look on the side here. Oops. If you look on the side, there's numbers. So just follow these numbers on the side to find the lines that I'm talking about. So I'm talking about this paragraph here, this whole paragraph. Tim has a long train of thoughts that cross his mind when he first finds the draft notice in the mail. He goes through many different reasons for himself to stay out of the war. The draft notice scares him so much and he begins to panic and his thoughts become scattered. He becomes nervous. He comes up with many reasons why he believes he should not go to war and the type of people he believes should be the ones to fight in this war. This is just a little question for you to answer on your own. So for the next line 72 through 99, in this passage, he is giving the audience an idea of what his job is and what he does. So he's using descriptive language to describe his job. He's telling you, the reader, this is how gross my job is. It's pretty graphic. The job is a very dirty job and it leaves him smelling disgusting and gross. Due to this, he feels even more lonely because he doesn't spend any time with friends or many people. All he does is work. And he's always thinking about this draft notice that he got. So he's very like alone. He doesn't have time to go on a date. He says he always smells disgusting. So he doesn't want to spend time with his friends because he's afraid his friends aren't going to like him. And his family, he doesn't want to he barely spends time with his family. He just works all the time. So Tim is going through many difficult emotions and feels as though he is going through them completely alone. He has no one to talk to. He has no friends, no one to share them with. And he's worried about what his family or his friends will think of him if he tells them about how worried he is about the draft notice. Because it's very likely there are many other people, like his friends or family possibly, that got a draft notice also. And he's thinking he's scared and wants to run. He doesn't have anyone to talk to about this because he doesn't want them to think he's like a coward. And then I'm on this section here. In these lines, Tim here is having moments of self-reflection. So he's looking at himself. He's thinking inward in what he believes and thinks about the ideas of being brave or being a hero. He feels as though if there were a cause he believed in, if there was a reason he understood, he could fight in a war, maybe. However, since he does not believe in this particular war, he does not wish to fight in it. So he begins to think negative thoughts and things he is not ready to do. For example, kill people that he doesn't know or understand why they're even at war. So Tim has thoughts of how he can possibly get out of going to the war. He's thinking, what can I do to get out of this? And he thinks, like, he talks about hurting himself, or he talks about being, this is, CO here is Conscientious objector, you don't need, this is just a word that was used. Basically, it's like an official document that you had to sign and get approved by the government that says, I don't believe in this war. I do not want to be drafted. It was very difficult to get that note. Anyway, the next section, Tim is having so many different thoughts and ideas about how to avoid going to this war. He feels like he's going crazy. He's losing his mind. So he has this thought of running away from America and crossing the border into Canada. So when he thinks about this, the consequences of being called a coward by his family and his friends, that then starts to come to his mind. And his community, all the people that he knows, all the people he went to school with, it's a very close community. This is before the internet. He probably doesn't have friends outside of the city that he grew up in. So he doesn't know many people outside even of the city that he grew up in. So these are all the people that he knows, and what they think about his cowardice crosses his mind. So he becomes more worried about what people will think about him. What if he runs away? And then he gets worried, what if I go to war and what will happen to me? And then again, these are just questions to ask yourself to sort of put yourself in his shoes. Okay, so this next section, Tim makes a decision one day. He leaves work in the middle of the morning. So he's at work and he just snaps. He switches his judgment and he decides to leave and head home. And he packs a bag and gets in a car and just starts driving. So he just was at work and he had a moment where he realized he could not and would not go to war. So he just runs away. He leaves a note for his family and just disappears and runs. And then in the next, so this is in this section here. So he's talking about, I left a note, where is it? I cracked one morning, standing on the pig line. I felt something break open in my chest. I don't know what it was. I'll never know, but it was real. So he felt something just break. And he just basically dips. He just leaves. Okay. The next section, this section. And again, I hope you read this. If you didn't, I'm just going through it really quickly. So in these next lines, Tim lives in a place that is close to Canada already. So the border for Canada is not very far from where he lives. He gets in the car and starts driving toward the border. He arrives at a lodge or a motel or a hotel, basically. It's a very small hotel called the Rainy River, where one side is on the American border and the other side is on the Canadian border. This is, he arrives at a hotel in an area that basically borders both. He finds a very small local hotel, a small hotel called an inn or a lodge, and he decides to stay there until he can work up the courage to actually go over and cross the border. So there's basically just a river. Think of like being on one side of the Nile and just looking on the other side of the Nile, and you can see a different country completely where you wouldn't have to go to war. And this is what he's looking at. Here we are introduced to a new character, Elroy Birdall. He's an old man. He's the manager of the Tip Top Lodge, that's the name of the inn where Tim is staying. He's an old man who says very little with words to Tim. However, he seems to have a lot of wisdom and understanding that he shares in life with Tim. So he can see that Tim is a young man that is in trouble and running away from something. But he continues to respect Tim's privacy. He doesn't really ask him what he's doing here. He doesn't ask him, why you're here. It's pretty obvious to this old man, like there's this young kid showing up to my lodge or my hotel on the border of America and Canada, looking confused and scared. So the old man kind of knows what Tim is thinking, but he doesn't pry into his business. He leaves him his privacy and just lets him do what he's going to do. Okay, so this is where the first section ends.